When I first met Lisa, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. She was smart, ambitious, and had a sense of humor that could light up a room. We met through mutual friends at a dinner party, and there was an instant spark. Her laugh was infectious, and she had this way of making everyone around her feel like the center of attention. I'll admit, I was smitten from the start. Our relationship moved quickly. Within a few months, we were practically inseparable. Weekend getaways, shared inside jokes, and long conversations about our dreams for the future. It felt like we were building something real, something solid. Lisa worked in a high-powered corporate job, and she was incredible at it. She climbed the ladder faster than most, earning the respect of her colleagues and even the admiration of her bosses. I was proud of her, and I never hesitated to tell her so. As for me, my career path was different. I run my own landscaping business, something I built from the ground up. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work, and I've poured my heart and soul into it. I take pride in creating something tangible, transforming overgrown, neglected yards into beautiful spaces that people love. Lisa always said she admired my passion for my work. She'd tell me how much she loved that I wasn't chasing corporate dreams like everyone else, and that my focus on building something of my own was inspiring. At least, that's what she used to say. Over time, little comments started slipping through the cracks. At first, they were subtle. "Oh, you wouldn't understand office politics," she'd say with a laugh during our conversations about her job. Or, "You're so lucky you don't have to deal with spreadsheets and meetings all day." I shrugged it off, thinking she was just venting about her own work frustrations. But as the months went by, those comments turned sharper. "Must be nice to work outside all day instead of dealing with real deadlines," she once joked during dinner with friends. I laughed it off at the time, but it stung. She knew how much my business meant to me, yet there was a growing edge to her words, like she didn't take my work seriously. Still, I loved her. I figured it was just stress from her demanding job, and I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Then came the engagement. I proposed to Lisa on a quiet evening at home, just the two of us. It wasn't some grand gesture, but it felt right. I poured my heart into that moment, telling her how much I loved her and how excited I was to spend the rest of my life with her. She said yes, and for a while, everything felt perfect. We started planning the wedding, talking about venues and guest lists. But underneath the surface, those little comments about my work kept bubbling up. I should have seen the signs. The unraveling began at an office party, one of those swanky, corporate events where everyone wears their best suits and cocktail dresses, sipping overpriced drinks while networking disguised as small talk. Lisa had invited me, saying it would be a great opportunity to meet her coworkers and see her world. I wasn't entirely comfortable with the idea. Corporate settings weren't exactly my vibe, but I wanted to support her. She seemed genuinely excited for me to attend, so I agreed. The night of the party, I put on my best dress shirt and slacks, making sure I looked polished. Lisa was stunning in a sleek black dress, her hair styled perfectly. She gave me an approving look as we headed out the door, and I thought, this is going to be fine. I can handle this. The venue was as fancy as I'd expected, dim lighting, a string quartet in the corner, and waiters circulating with trays of hors d'oeuvres. Lisa introduced me to her colleagues with a beaming smile, and at first, everything was going well. But then the questions started. "So, what do you do?" One of her coworkers asked me, a man in his early 40s with an expensive watch and the kind of smugness that comes with being too comfortable in a corner office. "I own a landscaping business," I said confidently. "We specialize in transforming outdoor spaces into something beautiful." His eyebrows lifted ever so slightly, and a polite but dismissive smile appeared on his face. "Ah, that's interesting." I brushed it off, but as the night went on, I noticed a pattern. Each new introduction came with the same awkward moment, an explanation of what I did, followed by a subtle shift in how people interacted with me. Lisa didn't help. At one point, someone asked her how we met. Instead of the sweet story she usually told about our first dinner party, she chuckled and said, "Oh, he's my hard-working handyman." The group laughed, but I froze. Hard-working handyman? That's how she described me. It got worse. Later in the evening, while we were standing in a circle with a few of her colleagues, someone joked about Lisa dating down. Lisa laughed. Not an uncomfortable chuckle or a nervous smile, but a genuine laugh. "Yeah, I guess I am," she said, looking at me with a grin. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. I tried to keep my composure, but the embarrassment and anger were boiling just beneath the surface. Was this how she saw me? As some kind of punchline? The final straw came when the topic of careers came up again. One of her co-workers asked Lisa if she thought my business would ever grow into something real. She laughed and said, "I don't know. Maybe one day he'll be landscaping for CEOs instead of retirees." Everyone laughed. I didn't. My chest tightened, and I could feel my face flush. I looked at Lisa, hoping for some kind of reassurance, but she didn't even notice my reaction. She was too busy basking in the laughter. That was it. "I think I've had enough," I said quietly, turning to leave the group. Lisa grabbed my arm, looking confused. "Where are you going?" "Home," I said firmly. "You can explain why to your friends." I walked out of that party feeling humiliated, angry, and deeply hurt. The woman I loved, the woman I was planning to marry, had just made a joke out of my entire life in front of a room full of strangers. The drive home from the party felt like the longest car ride of my life. Lisa kept trying to talk to me, but I was too angry to engage. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, and my jaw was clenched as I replayed every humiliating moment of the night in my mind. When we got home, I didn't even wait for her to say anything. As soon as we walked through the door, I turned to face her. "What the hell was that?" I asked, my voice steady but cold. Lisa looked genuinely confused. "What are you talking about?" "You know exactly what I'm talking about," I said. "The jokes. The comments about me and my career. Laughing along when your coworkers belittled me. Is that what you really think of me?" She crossed her arms defensively. "It wasn't that serious," she said, rolling her eyes. "They were just joking." "Joking?" I repeated, incredulous. "Lisa, they weren't joking. They were mocking me, and you joined in." She sighed, clearly annoyed. "Oh, come on. You're overreacting. It's not like I meant anything by it. People tease each other all the time. It's not a big deal." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not a big deal? "Lisa, they treated me like I didn't belong in that room, and instead of standing up for me, you made it worse. You made me feel small, like I wasn't good enough for you or your world." Her expression softened slightly, but her words didn't. "You're being too sensitive," she said. "This is how people in my industry are. You have to have a thick skin." I shook my head, anger bubbling to the surface. "This isn't about having a thick skin, Lisa. It's about respect. You didn't respect me tonight. You embarrassed me. You made me feel like I wasn't worthy of being by your side." She frowned, and for a moment, it looked like she was going to apologize. But instead, she said something that broke me. "Look," she said, her tone sharp. "It's not like your job is prestigious or anything. I mean, you mow lawns for a living. What do you expect people to say?" The words hit me like a slap in the face. "Mow lawns?" I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. "Is that all you think I do? Is that all you see when you look at me?" She didn't answer. I felt something inside me snap. The woman I thought I was going to spend my life with, the person I had loved and trusted, had just reduced everything I'd worked for to a meaningless punchline. "I can't do this," I said, my voice trembling. She looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean this," I said, gesturing between us. "This relationship, this engagement. I can't marry someone who doesn't respect me, who doesn't value what I bring to the table." Her eyes widened. "You're not serious." "I've never been more serious," I said. "Because of one bad night?" she asked, her voice rising. "You're going to throw everything away because I made a few jokes?" "It's not just about tonight," I said. "This has been building for months. The little comments, the jabs, the way you talk about my career like it's some kind of joke. Tonight was just the final straw." She stared at me, stunned into silence. For a moment, I thought she might try to apologize, to salvage what was left of our relationship. Instead, she said, "Fine. If that's how you feel, maybe we shouldn't get married." "Maybe we shouldn't," I agreed. I took off the engagement ring I had given her and placed it on the counter. "Goodbye, Lisa." And just like that, it was over. The days following the breakup were a blur. The engagement was over, the wedding plans were canceled, and Lisa had moved out of my life as quickly as she had moved into it. At first, it felt surreal. I kept looking at the empty space in the closet where her clothes used to hang, catching myself expecting her to walk through the door or text me. But the silence was deafening. I had loved her, at least the version of her I thought I knew. But as I started to unpack everything that had happened, I realized that version of Lisa might never have existed. The hardest part wasn't the loneliness, it was the questions. Had she ever respected me? Had she always looked down on my work? And if so, why had she said yes when I proposed? I threw myself into work, hoping the steady rhythm of planting, pruning, and designing would quiet the chaos in my mind. My landscaping business had always been a source of pride for me, and now it became my lifeline. It wasn't just about staying busy, it was about proving to myself that my work had value. Every yard I transformed, every client who thanked me for bringing their vision to life, reminded me that what I did mattered. I also leaned on my friends, who were quick to rally around me. "She didn't deserve you," one of them said over beers one night. "You're better off without her." It was a cliché, but it was exactly what I needed to hear. My family, too, was a huge source of support. My mom, who had never been shy about her opinions, was blunt in the way only a mother can be. "She's out of her mind if she can't see how lucky she was," she said. Slowly but surely, I started to feel like myself again. I took up running, something I hadn't done since college, and it became a form of therapy. The quiet mornings on the trail, with nothing but the sound of my footsteps and the wind in the trees, helped me clear my head. I also started journaling, pouring out all the anger, hurt, and confusion that had been swirling inside me. Seeing it all on paper made it easier to process, easier to let go. One day, while scrolling through social media, I stumbled across a photo of Lisa at another work event. She was smiling, holding a glass of champagne, surrounded by her colleagues. For a moment, I felt a pang of something, anger, maybe, or sadness. But then I realized it didn't matter. Her life was her own now, just as mine was mine. That realization was freeing. I didn't need her validation or approval. I didn't need her to see the value in my work or my life. I saw it, and that was enough. By the 6-month mark, my business was thriving more than ever. I had landed a few high-profile clients who loved my work and recommended me to their friends. The projects were bigger, the paychecks were better, and for the first time, I felt like I was truly hitting my stride. The breakup had been painful, but it also taught me something invaluable. Respect is non-negotiable. No matter how much love or history you have with someone, a relationship without respect isn't worth holding on to. As the months passed, life began to settle into a new rhythm for me. My landscaping business was booming, my social circle had grown stronger, and I was starting to feel like myself again. Lisa, however, wasn't having the same luck. It started with whispers from mutual friends. I wasn't digging for information, but occasionally, updates about Lisa found their way to me. The first came from my best friend, Josh, who worked in the same industry as her. "Have you heard about Lisa?" he asked casually one evening. "No," I replied, trying to sound indifferent. Josh smirked. "Apparently, she's not doing so hot at work. Word is, she had some big project go sideways, and her boss isn't thrilled with her right now." I didn't feel joy at her misfortune, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel like a small dose of karmic justice. Over the next few weeks, I heard more. Lisa's reputation at work had taken a hit, and she was no longer the star employee she had once been. The co-workers who had laughed along with her jokes at that infamous party, they weren't so loyal now that she wasn't at the top of her game. What really surprised me, though, was when she reached out. One afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Lisa. Can we talk?" My first instinct was to ignore it. What could she possibly have to say after everything that had happened? But curiosity got the better of me, so I replied, "What do you want?" She didn't beat around the bush. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened between us. I want to apologize." I agreed to meet her at a nearby coffee shop, not because I wanted to rekindle anything, but because I wanted to hear what she had to say. When I walked in, she was already there, sitting at a corner table. She looked different, tired, maybe even a little defeated. "Thanks for meeting me," she said as I sat down. "What's this about, Lisa?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She hesitated before speaking. "I owe you an apology," she said finally, "for everything. For the way I treated you. For the things I said at that party. I was wrong." I waited, giving her space to continue. "I didn't realize how much I hurt you," she admitted. "I was so caught up in my own world that I didn't see how disrespectful I was being. You deserved better." Her words were sincere, but they didn't erase the past. "I appreciate the apology," I said. "But why now? What's changed?" She looked down at her coffee, stirring it absent-mindedly. "I've had a rough year," she said. "Work's been challenging. And honestly, I've had a lot of time to reflect on everything. I know I can't undo what I did, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry." For a moment, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. "I'm glad you've had time to reflect," I said. "But your apology doesn't change what happened. You didn't just hurt me, Lisa. You made me feel small, like I wasn't enough. That's not something I can just forget." She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I understand," she said quietly. I stood up to leave, feeling a strange sense of closure. "Take care of yourself, Lisa," I said. As I walked out of that coffee shop, I felt lighter. Her apology didn't fix anything, but it wasn't about fixing. It was about moving on. Walking out of that coffee shop, I felt a sense of closure I hadn't realized I needed. Lisa's apology didn't erase the hurt she'd caused, but it solidified one thing. I had made the right decision to end the engagement. Life had changed drastically since the breakup, but for the first time in a long time, it felt like I was truly in control. My landscaping business continued to thrive. What started as a small operation had grown into something I could genuinely be proud of. I'd hired a few employees to help with the workload, allowing me to take on bigger projects and build a reputation as one of the best in the area. I even got a surprising call from a corporate client who had heard about my work through word of mouth. They wanted to overhaul the grounds of their office building, one that happened to be just down the road from Lisa's company. I couldn't help but smirk at the irony. The project turned out to be one of my biggest successes, earning praise from the company's executives and attracting even more high-profile clients. It was a reminder that my work wasn't just mowing lawns, as Lisa had once dismissed. It was creating something tangible and lasting. Beyond work, my personal life was flourishing, too. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years, making up for lost time with game nights, camping trips, and impromptu barbecues. One of those friends, Megan, became more than just a friend. We had known each other since college, but had lost touch over the years. When we reconnected, it was like no time had passed. She was warm, funny, and had a way of making everyone around her feel valued. Unlike Lisa, Megan never made me feel like I had to prove myself. She respected my work and admired the passion I poured into it. "You create beauty," she said one evening as we walked through a park I had landscaped. "How many people can say that about their job?" Her words stuck with me. For so long, I had let Lisa's comments make me doubt my worth, but Megan reminded me that what I did mattered. Our relationship grew naturally, built on mutual respect and genuine connection. There were no games, no power dynamics, just two people supporting each other and building something real. Looking back, I realized how much I had grown since that night at the office party. The breakup had been painful, but it had also been necessary. It forced me to reevaluate what I wanted in a partner and, more importantly, what I deserved. I deserved respect. I deserved someone who saw me as an equal, not as a punchline. Now, my life is exactly where I want it to be. My business is thriving. My relationships are stronger than ever, and I've found someone who truly values me for who I am. Sometimes, the hardest decisions turn out to be the best ones. To anyone who's ever felt undervalued or disrespected, don't settle. Walk away if you have to. The right people will see your worth, and the right life is waiting for you on the other side of the pain. Here's to new beginnings and a future built on respect, love, and genuine happiness.